Hi, everybody. Happy Saturday evening. It's 8:30 Central Time, which means it's time for Paint Talk on my favorite How to Paint show. Tonight we have a special guest. She is also one of the wonderful women from Empowered by Design, Miss Sherri Hursey. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Dion?
I'm doing so well. You know what? I was in there laying on the sofa, which I can count on two hands how many times I've laid down on the sofa because I don't stop.
Right.
So, and the fire, I flipped the fire on, and Abby was kind of laying there on the ground, and like the sofa starts right there. So I was laying kind of on the arm, scratching her, and I was just kind of relaxing. And I said, I'm almost like I'm not bored, but I don't do that, Sherri. So it's been kind of a quiet, chill evening. So I am happy to be getting on here. And I told Sherri I wanted her to come on here, and she's a beautiful artist. She's beautiful here, and she's a beautiful artist. So I'm going to ask her to tell everybody a little bit about herself. Hi, G. Hi, Laura and Karen and Derek. Hello. You guys stick around. Don't go anywhere, Miss Janet, because you are going. Lolly's here and Laura. I'm so thrilled you guys are here. Listen, I want you to like and listen for a few minutes. Give us a few minutes. This is Sherri Hursey. And I actually met Sherri 2 or 3 years ago when she came to Reclaimed Warehouse all the way from Colorado. I think you flew the first time, you drove the second time. And I knew you were going to come to Waco, but you ended up not being able to come. And I just adore you. And I'm so glad that you're here. And she's probably a little bit nervous, you guys, because this is kind of one of the challenges for the ladies in Empowered by Design is that they have to come on with me. I mean, I can't make them, but it's highly encouraged. So tell everybody kind of where you are and what you do, Sherri.
I live in Loveland, Colorado. Um, I was born and raised in New Mexico, and I went from there to Wyoming, and then I wound up in Colorado and been here for 20 some odd years. So yeah.
I love it. I love that. And now, when you were growing up, have you just okay? So you guys can see all the color behind her. And how do you describe your artwork? Like, do you gear towards more of abstract? Um, and then, what medium do you use more than any other?
I do florals. I do abstracts. I grew up with the horses and the buffalo, and so I do animals. Um, and I mainly do acrylic paint on canvas. But a couple of years ago, I took a class to learn encaustic, and so I've been doing that um, in addition to the acrylic. So, but I also paint furniture. That's kind of how I started, and that's how I met you, Miss Dion.
Yes, that is how you met me. You showed up at Reclaim Warehouse with your gorgeous jewelry on, and I was like, oh, she likes natural stones like I do. Oh, I love the turquoise and all the natural stones that you do. Um, so, at what point did you say, hey, I'm going to paint furniture? How did your transition? It's always interesting for most people. Lolly, I will have her explain encaustic. She wants you to explain that in a minute. I started doing that last year as well and was so thrilled to find out how many people also were doing it so I could get help. But how did your transition into furniture happen? Share.
I started really, really young. I started right out of high school painting furniture, and mainly it was because I wanted to decorate. And so, whenever I was pregnant with my daughter, I painted a dresser for her. My canvas art, I kind of did the same thing. I wanted a big, beautiful picture of the mountains over my sofa, and I couldn't afford to go out and buy it. So I went to Michael's or Hobby, whatever was available then, and bought canvas and painted mountains to go over my couch. So I think when I really got started with the painting of furniture was I had a little boutique in downtown Fort Collins, and I couldn't afford all the fixtures to hang clothes on and
Yeah.
to set the little gifty items on. So I went on Craigslist and bought lots of furniture. And at that time, I just took spray paint in bright colors and spray painted it.
Sure.
And I had customers that
I
coming
did
in.
that. I did
Yeah,
the same thing. I
yeah,
did it a few times. I was like, oh, I mean, it looks really nice.
it does. And I still do that sometimes. I still bring out the spray paint. Um, but yeah, so it's like I did that, and customers kept coming in and asking for um, if the pieces were for sale. And my husband said, by all means, sell them. So I would sell the furniture and then repaint another piece to put in there. And then, yeah, so I just kind of continued with that after I closed the store. You know, again, it was for doing it for friends and for doing things for my own home because I love decorating and I have a very short attention span. So my decor changes quite often.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Before I was doing furniture and art, I would paint the house walls.
Yeah.
So for me, because my attention span and just kind of, as soon as we get a house just the way we want it, I'm like, hey, how about we move? Okay, I'm done here. Like, cause it's fun for me, you know, it's
Right.
always been a fun thing for me. And being a DIYer at heart, it's the way my parents raised me, you know, and so it was like, I just have to figure it out and do it myself. But they are asking, oh, your daughter says hi and she loves you.
Hi, Bree.
Hi, Bree. One of these days, maybe I'll meet Bree. Okay. And so you started doing furniture. I know that you've had a booth there locally, and now you're really kind of shifting on just focusing more on selling direct and working on your artwork. And the reason your artwork excites me so much is because we have a like in the colors that we choose. You really like intense pinks and reds and oranges, and so do I.
I do. I've always been a color person. You know, going back to doing the home decor, I always had bright colors on my walls in the house. And it's very, very hard for me to do neutrals. It's very hard.
Same, girl, same. Yes. And so let's see, I'm looking over here to see if there's any questions for you. Encaustic, Joanne spelled it correctly. Several of you were asking. So
Yes.
we'll talk about that in just a minute. I did start it and I had someone kind of come in and teach me. Bonnie Butler came in and showed us a little bit, but I was just kind of watching videos on it. Sherri, you want to kind of tell us, just because there's so many people interested in what encaustic painting is?
So I'll tell you the first time I encountered it was I was at a event up in Estes Park called Art Fusion. And it was there was a lot of different classes offered, and I kept seeing people walking by with these beautiful portraits, you know, like 10 by 12 or and these gorgeous portraits. And so I started asking about it, and it was this lovely woman out of Ireland. Her name's Laura Murphy, and she was teaching portraits class with doing encaustic. And so that following year, I went to another Art Fusion event, and I decided I was going to take her portrait class, which was probably the very, you know, it wasn't the best decision to do a portrait class for the very introduction to it. But what it is it's painting with wax. So you use beeswax, and then there's a resin mixture to it that is, well, if you buy the beeswax, it has the resin in it if you are looking for specifically for encaustic. And so then that hardens it, so then you don't have to worry about the wax melting. So yeah, so then you just add pigments to wax and you can paint with it. And it's really it's a really freeing medium because you don't have a lot of control with the wax. You have to, after you paint something, you have to have a heat source, like a flame, a torch, to fuse the wax so that all the layers fuse together. And then, so if you go in with the colored paints on top of the first few layers of wax, then you have to fuse all those together. So, but it's really, you can do so much with it.
You
Like I
can.
said, the first class I did was portrait class, and it wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be, but it was probably a lot more difficult
Sounds
than
hard.
if I had taken a beginner's encaustic.
Sounds really actually very hard. Portraits in general are hard.
Okay.
But do you use a torch?
I do. So I use one of these,
Oh, you're fancy.
and then I also, I don't know if you can see it on the table back behind. No, it's not on here. Let me get it.
Okay, please. You're right. Laura says she would burn the house down. Oh, that's
Yeah.
too big. What? What?
Yes.
You,
So,
so do you have to refill that, or do you buy a new one when you're done?
well, they're just the containers. Yeah. So whenever the container is empty, you take the head off and you put it on a new canister.
You are so brave. You know, girl, I was just using the heat gun.
I have my son change off the tips for me because I don't like doing it.
Well, that's probably good, because I'm like, you get that tool up, and I'm like, oh, I'm not big enough for that. Like, I'm not mature enough for that.
I don't mind turning it on and off. I just don't like the hooking up parts. So, but if he wasn't around, I would do it. I've seen him do it enough times. But
so when I tried it, I was just, of course, mixing, because I didn't want to spend a whole lot. I took Matt's taco pan and ruined it. Yeah.
You didn't give it back, did you?
No, he went to make tacos a couple of months, and he was like, "Where is my taco pan?" And I said, "I told you I ruined it. It's in my paint cabinet with wax all over." He's like, "And you didn't go replace one?" I'm like, "No, I didn't." Oh my gosh, but it was so much fun. And what I found, Sherri, was you said freeing. It's very rewarding, like satisfying to watch the wax like shift and like see the colors do their things, and then fusing it all together, and then it kind of like melts, and then it gets that little bubble on it. And I'm like, this is amazing.
Yes. And I think for me, because I with my acrylic painting, so much of the time I try to have too much control over it. I start getting really nitty, being really picky about it. And, oh, there's this spot here, let me go back and change it. And with encaustic, it's very loose. It's like there's not, I mean, there is control of the wax, but it's not going to be just pristine, so, which is what I like. It has this organic look to it.
Totally.
And sometimes you think you're going one direction, and then you get some, the wax bubbling up, and it's like, ooh, I'm going to go a totally different direction with that. So
yeah, I feel like that with all my art. Lolly said, isn't it a very old art form?
Oh, yes. It's, yes. I can't tell you the history of it, but yeah, it goes way, way, way back.
I think what I read is it goes centuries back. And of course, the way they used it was different. But with beeswax, I wasn't sure. Like, I kind of get a smell in my studio. I would kind of get a smell. But I know that it went back and you can also I've seen people put wax over portraits, like pictures that they wanted to preserve them.
You can do kind of, what do they call it? Collages. So you can take pieces of paper and put it in between the layers of wax, and you can do all kinds. Yeah.
Will you show us one of yours? Do you have it?
Yes, I do. This is one that I'm working on right now. I've got a whole kind of series of flowers that I'm doing. So yeah. So the other really nice thing with the wax is you can take tools in and carve. So you
Yes.
can um, go in and, once you lay a color, then you can go back in with, I found these at Harbor Freight. They're kind of like dental tools, or I don't know what specifically these were for, if they were for clay or
Yeah.
sculpting kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just kind of carve into it. You, the one thing that they tell you with adding things into the wax is you have to be careful about some of the products that you add into it because it compromises the integrity of the wax. So it may start flaking, or kind of chunks will come off. Um, and I'm trying to, I think they say 30%. So like when you're adding something, other liquids to the wax, then the more product that you're putting in there, the more it compromises the integrity of it.
Okay. All
But
right. That makes perfect sense. Now, when you show, so hold that piece up and you start with a piece of wood, because that's wood, right? Like a
yes.
wood panel. And so do you cover it with a clear, like just color it with wax first, or did you color it with white, or did you just jump in?
So the boards that I have right now are encaustic boards. So they're birch boards that I bought at a art supply place specifically for encaustic. You can do the wax straight onto a birch board, but then that birch color will come through.
Oh,
So you can, you can do that. You can buy just birch, like on Amazon, you can buy boxes of birch. Again, like on the art supply side of it, birch boards that don't have the gesso on it, the
okay.
white gesso.
Yeah.
You can order encaustic gesso to put on the birch so that it is a white background to start on. But
Okay.
these they were already done when I bought them. So
So
yeah, so
much better.
you lay, I usually do at least 4 layers of wax before I start um, with my colored wax.
Okay.
Just for when you start kind of carving into it, you don't want to dig too deep into the wood.
Okay. I love that. And it's a process. And so it's like you kind of work on it and then you have to come back to it later, right? Oh, you have
Right.
another one.
Yeah. So here's another one that I'm working on right now. So these aren't finished. Um, I've done several different layers of products. So another thing you can do besides the paint itself, the encaustic paint, you can take oil paint and you can add coloring in.
Okay.
You don't want to like paint with the oil paints because again that kind of compromises the integrity of
Okay.
the
Okay. I love that. Thank you for our little lesson on encaustic, you guys. Now let me see kind of, I know you've done some big projects lately. One of your last one, you worked on some furniture for a realtor and staged a home and then also did your big horse painting, which was gorgeous.
Yes, that was for a home that a realtor friend of mine was getting ready to list. It's just under $2 million, and so
Ooh.
she wanted it to be, I don't know, she had a certain look she was going for, and so she commissioned four or five different pieces from me of furniture. And then she commissioned the horse painting, and it was a big one.
It was
It was
big.
4 by 5 feet. Yeah. So, but it was fun. I almost cried the morning that I took it up to her because I didn't like it.
You
And
started worrying and that little self-doubt started creeping in on you, sis.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so I took it up there and she took it and ran with it, and so it's still sitting up there and it looks beautiful. I'm happy with it now.
Yeah, it looks really
It
good.
grew on me.
Good. So as far as other mediums, you've got several more behind you. What do you have?
These are acrylic on canvas. So I've got I don't know if you can see that one. I've got a buffalo over there.
Okay.
Um,
Yes, I see him in the corner.
and then I've got this one that
I love this one.
this one is one of my abstracts.
I love it.
Right now I'm working on a large one that is similar to this. This I like because I added in a gold leaf. So I liked that. And then I've got a floral here. It's kind of back behind stuff, sorry. And then here's another kind of abstract floral.
Yep, I love that one. I love you did the color blocking kind of idea and then the bright corals. Bree says that she loves the buffalo. It's her favorite.
I just finished that one last couple of days.
That's awesome. I love that.
I don't know. Since I lived in Wyoming, well, New Mexico, I don't know, Colorado, New Mexico, and Wyoming, all of them, I very much, I love the outdoors. I love the elk. I love the deer, the buffalo, the horses. So I like to paint those.
Yes, and we have a lot of people that will do buffalo here in Oklahoma too. So I see those a lot. I of course am more drawn to the ones with the most colors, and not just the neutral ones.
It's funny because when I was growing up in New Mexico, um, I grew up and my mom was a very good decorator, but everything was the mauves and the blues during that time, and our whole house was Southwest. It was had the American Indians and the Kachina dolls and the buffaloes, but everything, every aspect of the whole house was something Southwest. And I moved away from there and I vowed I would never decorate with Southwest things again. And then, I think as you get older, you reinvent what you're drawn to. And so all of a sudden I loved it. It was like I wanted, my mom, whenever she passed, I inherited a bunch of beautiful, beautiful paintings that she had. And so I just kind of started doing that and added my twist and kept adding colors, more and more colors into them. And
awesome. Since I'm going to just ask you some hard questions because I have everybody else as well. So, you're basically running a creative business from home.
Yes.
Now I'm going to ask you what your favorite thing about doing the sew. Like what is your, I know you were in a booth, you're not now, but you've done different things. You've owned your own store before.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, any chance of having a store again or no?
I'll never say I won't, because you never know where life's going to take you. I do like having the freedom of being able to sell online. Originally, this past summer, I planned on going to different art festivals around the country, and I was really looking forward to driving there. And I love to travel, and I was really looking forward to setting up my booth and selling that way and meeting people from all over the country. And then with everything that happened in February that we know of, we just, everything started canceling one by one. And so I just kind of, I think I did kind of go into a depression a little bit. It was like, I don't know what my next step is.
Yeah.
But then it was like, this is gonna, we'll do it this way. So, a lot of it's trial and error. Um, thank goodness we live in an era that has the internet, and
We are lucky. We are lucky as artists that we have internet.
yeah, it's like I sold a painting. I think I told you this the last time we talked. I sold a painting to a childhood friend of mine's older sister. Reached out when she saw one of my paintings on Facebook, and she lives in Florida, and so I shipped off a painting to Florida, and I was so overwhelmed because I can't even tell you how many years it's been since I've seen her. But she was just so gracious and so sweet, and asked about the painting, and then messaged me back and said, I got the perfect spot for it. So I just love that kind of thing. I love knowing whose house it's going to go into and that it's going to be well loved. And I don't know, that just makes
I know. That's probably the best part, isn't it? Just to know that someone's going to walk by your piece of art or your furniture every day and hopefully love it for, years to come. And what I love about furniture is giving it new life, because most of the time when we find pieces, they're totally discarded, thrown away in a thrift store, nobody wanted them. And I love when we can give them a whole new look for another 20, 30 years. I'm just like, that's my favorite. People are popping on. Lolly said, you are absolutely a beautiful woman. She loves that your turquoise looks so good with your hair color. Several people said, yes, she's very beautiful. Hello, Mr. Gavin, and your friend is on here, Sophia. Okay, so I know that when that time hit, you had all these plans to go and travel and do all of that, and you mentioned kind of feeling depressed because it was like, okay, now what is my next move? I was looking forward to this. I had all this planned. I had all of these functions set up. So I know that that's been very hard, and several people said, yes, that has been hard for them as well. But we're in November, sis, and you're kind of in a better place, and it's not like it happened overnight, but you have a beautiful smile on your face, and you're painting more, and you've got all of your studio set up there in your home. And I don't know, I feel like you're...
You know what my secret is?
Tell me.
I hired you to be my coach.
Well, thank you. But you know what? We did actually meet in June. You signed up for this group, and you are a lot different now than you were in June, but it's all in our head. It's a headspace. It's kind of sorting through some things, getting through the hard stuff. And not that it's not hard now for any of us, but some of those things take longer than others, and you just have to not stop. I've enjoyed getting to know you better and talking to you more, learning more about your childhood, and just learning all of that. I think that you know what, everything kind of goes full circle, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I think part of that was, I think you kind of helped me overcome a lot of the obstacles that I had with technology. It's like, not like I do okay with technology, but it's changing so often. Sometimes it's hard to keep up. And then whenever you're trying to paint and like produce work, but then you've got to go in and, set up a Pinterest page, it's like, I could spend, 2 or 3 days working on that. And, but I'm so glad that it's out there, that there's so many different platforms to use now and it's like, I still love to do furniture. I like doing, the canvas is easier to ship.
Yes.
But what I'm finding is I'm doing my furniture. I'm doing a lot of custom pieces, and I really like doing that.
I love that. And Tasha says, yes, she's getting there on the technology, but we're all kind of, I have to just look at it like at least I get to learn,
Right.
because I'm totally guilty of wanting to cry and screaming at the computer. Because when you're a productive type person and you waste hours and hours and days on a project, it is like, just stab me, like just put something through my hand, because it's that painful when you feel like you've wasted your time. But so I flip my mindset and say, but at least you learn how to do something new, and even if you don't learn it, you learn how to overcome problems. It's the thing with being a business owner, Sherri. If you can solve problems, you can do just about anything.
Right, right. Well, and I do, kind of going back to what you were asking about, this year, it's like, I'm so blessed, it's like I'm blessed with my family. I'm blessed to be able to work from my home. Um, I get migraines really bad, and so those can kind of knock me out. So it's so nice to have a job that is flexible. It's like I'm just really blessed that way.
Yep. You can always see the bright side of it, right? So,
Yeah.
who inspires you to paint? Like, do you have someone online that you turn to? Do you have favorite artists? And if so, will you share some of their names with us if you can think about it? I know these are off the top of your head, so you might not be able to think about it.
I can name Patricia Presto, which is, her. I met her before I met you, um, up in Estes Park, and I love her work. She's out of Atlanta, Georgia. Um, and let's see, Allie Kay. She is, where is she? She's in Tennessee. She kind of got me into the florals, and just she's wonderful. I love her work. Took several classes from her. And then Laura Murphy, the one that originally taught me the encaustic, and she's over in Ireland. And one of these days I'm going to get over there and take a class from her over in Ireland. It's like we keep talking about it, but hopefully we'll be able to travel again soon.
One of these days. So are you, because it seems to me like you're kind of drawn to the same colors I am. But have you always been that way?
Yeah.
I've always, like, I can remember being in first grade and just begging my mom to let me wear the teal shirt in the school picture. And she's like, it doesn't go, like, we want to wear a dress, Dion. And I'm like, I hate dresses, Mama. And just let me wear the teal shirt. And I can remember being in 7th grade saying, Mom, I'm going to wear the teal shirt. Will you iron it for me and make it look really nice? Like, I've just always been a fan of that color. Do you have a color like that too?
Not specifically for clothing. I think for me with color, originally it was because I don't like my home. I didn't want it to look like everybody else's.
Yeah.
Like I wanted it to look up to date, and I wanted it to look pretty, but I wanted it to be different. And so as far as decor, I always wanted the fuchsia couch, or the bright gold chairs, and that's where I think the furniture came in. But blues, I think blues and pinks I am really, really drawn to. Yeah. Which is probably while I was drawn to your work, Dion, because I was looking on Facebook, and all of a sudden this person appeared in all the colors, and it was so pretty.
I love that. I love it. Okay, let's see if there are any questions. Let's see. Tasha Watson, stop in Ennis. Say hi to my family. Sheila says, what is your email address?
My email address?
I think she may be asking me. Maybe I can get a response from you. That was Sheila. My email is dion@theturquoiseiris.com. Okay. Yes, she does encaustic, Teresa. She does encaustic. At the beginning, she was actually telling us a little bit about it. She showed a couple of her new ones. we talked a little bit, there's some people on here as well that have tried the encaustic. It's a very, very rewarding. And she gets to use a torch. So you guys, I have encouraging all of the women empowered by design to do more live videos. I know that it's not for everybody. I honestly, I get that, Sherri, but I have been trying to tell everybody that it's really good for engagement. It's actually really good just to come on live. And so I've been talking to Sherri about doing more lives. Have you done one yet at all?
I have not done one yet.
This is your first one.
This is, well, yeah, this is it.
Well, I think it would be really a neat thing if you brought the camera in and we're working a little bit on your encaustic for like 10 or 15 minutes, and didn't get the phone too close. But I think it would be really neat to kind of show those kind of things. It seems like, I'm gonna tell you right now from the response, it just seems like there's an interest in that.
Yeah, I have put a couple on reels on Instagram reels. I've showed me doing my work, like fast forward kind of thing.
Great.
Yeah, I'll keep thinking about it, Dion.
Okay, because we don't have our call next month because we're done with Empowered by Design. So I'm like, okay, but I'm super proud of you for working on your reels, you guys. She worked on those Instagram reels. She got her music on there, and she was bound and determined to get that on there. See, Tasha Watkins says, "I would love to see you," which means she would love to see you work on that encaustic. So maybe put that on your first. I'll try. One thing to always remember, Bree says, do more lives, Mama. People want to see your work.
Okay, honey.
Bree and I are like this. I got her.
Because I'm like, tell her she's going to have to come over and read the comments to me because I can't read them from that far away.
Do you have an iPad?
I do.
So what I see a lot of people doing is when they're showing, talking to the phone, they have the iPad set up there right beside them, closer.
Okay. Is there a time delay? Like on two different devices, like the phone versus the...
I am not sure, you guys. I'm not sure because I don't usually do it very often, but when I do it in the Creative Connection, there's not a delay.
Okay.
Bree said deal. But it's kind of neat. Rob says you're very calm. So you may not feel calm, but you're coming across as very calm, sister. And so I just think after listening to them and knowing how it really lit a fire underneath me when I danced around the house, and it was very rewarding to just, my stuff is ugly. I saved every one of them so I can look and remind myself, girl, but it was fun. I just think that would be a really good thing for you to try to do. Heather Watson says sometimes there's a 10 to 15 second delay.
Okay.
Dion, Sophia wants to know if you enjoy teaching others to paint. Sophia, thanks for being here with us tonight. I saw that you're a friend of Gavin's. So I adore teaching. It is why I do it. It's why I do it every single day and why I come on here every single day to do it. I love the connection, but I love to paint. And often when I do come on, it's the only time that day that I had a chance to paint. So it's one of my most favorite things to do. And thank you for asking. Sherri is also, because she is so patient, if I were sitting there with her, she would sit down and teach me how to paint as well, because I absolutely know she loves painting. And she would also be a very good teacher too. I will read the comments. Rob says, you got this, girl.
Thank you.
Well, again, you guys, she's Sherri Hursey Design. So it's SHERRI. Hursey is HURSEY. If anybody wants to grab that Facebook link and maybe put it down in both of the comments for us, that would be great. I just would really, really love if you could like and follow her page. This was kind of part of the challenge and part of our instruction going through Empowered by Design. Sophia, thank you. Anything else you want to say, Miss Sherri?
Not that I can think of. I just really appreciate you allowing me to come and talk with you guys tonight.
It's my pleasure. I love doing this. I love letting everybody know a little bit about the people I hang out with online. And you know what? Your work is stunning. And that day that you posted that abstract, and it just, I think you posted it on the wrong group by
I
accident.
did. I did.
She meant to post it in Empowered by Design, which is 20 of us, right? But she put it in Creative Connection, so there's over 500 people, and it sold.
It did. It did. It sold.
It sold, and I shared it. So some of you may have seen it before, but it was a really beautiful abstract. Had a really strong magenta color in it. It was really, really beautiful. Catherine says, I would love to watch you go live. And G says, thank you. Tasha says, thanks, Sherri. I'm looking forward to it. And I thank you, Heather Watson, for grabbing her link for her. You're beautiful, honey. I appreciate you so much. Everybody, I hope you have a wonderful night. And you take care, Miss Sherri, okay?
All right. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody, good night. We'll see you tomorrow.